Hey, what's up? It's your boy Humbledad back with another edition of Humbledad Podcast. Your boy's flying solo this evening. And then we're going to talk about fatherhood, faith, family, and how to lead with humility in every season. That's a struggle for me. That's why we're going to be learning together. I'm your host, Dr. Elijah Glenn, aka Humble Dad, and I'm going to be in and out of character, if you will, playing the monologue, as well as I'm going to be asking questions to myself. I'm a father, a husband, a teacher, and additionally, I'm a realtor, and on a mission to encourage men and women to grow in grace and responsibility. But we'll be catering this lesson this evening to men. Of course, we'll talk about women because they are part of the solar system, right? Now, tonight, like I said, I'm solo, just you and me, and we're going to keep it real. I want to talk about what it means to lead at home, even when life feels heavy. Because let's be honest, sometimes being a dad, a husband, or a provider feels like trying to lift a house on your back. So whether you're listening on the go, winding down after a long day, or sneaking in a moment of peace, I appreciate you being here. And please don't forget to like, share, and comment as you are coming on in. And then even as you leave, make sure you check all those boxes and let somebody know what's going on over here. And we appreciate you. Now, let's start the show. We ready? Here we go.
The boy is dangerous.
Bad feeling about this.
You don't seem to understand something.
The thing that I like most about being a dad is that I see that I'm about to impact the world. That is a fact. I'm about to change and impact the world. And starting with myself, like last week, we talked about, making sure that you focus on yourself to make yourself better. That way you can have different expectations. And, I think that's a very good point to start at. And so for me, we're going to be talking about different things this evening, whether it's from mental health, leading when you're struggling, loving your wife through life chaos, raising kids with kingdom purpose, and why humility is a superpower. And so, as you're in the chat, feel free to ask questions. And even if you decide that you want to, well, I ain't gonna let nobody up necessarily, but if you have a question that you would like for me to answer, please feel free to do so. And, as we do this show tonight, doing it solo, let me know how I do, because this is the first time that I'm gonna try to go as long as I do. And people say I can talk, but that's typically when I'm talking to other people, though. Have something to say. So, starting off, we're going to talk about being present when you're mentally elsewhere. And one of the things that I'm learning or have learned is that even though I'm present, it doesn't mean that I'm present. Like just because I'm in the room doesn't mean that I'm actually there, right? Like just for a few moments ago, a movie was put on and the family was watching the movie, and I was not disinterested. However, um, I was disinterested because I was trying to get prepared for this show. So, although I was in the room, I was not an active participant in what was actually going on in the room. And so at times could make people be at set them not so at ease, right? Because if you're in the room and you're not talking, it can be very awkward, depending on the relationship that you have with the person. I know with me and my wife, we can sit in the room and we could just chill, right? We could just not have too many words with each other, but just being in each other's presence is enough. I know with my children, if I'm in the room, then somebody's going to be wanting to ask me for something, right? Uh, the way that I let my kids know that I don't want to be bothered is that I end up going to my room and closing the door. Now, if my door is open, then I'm good. But then you have people such as my son Joshua, right? Joshua likes for me to be in the room so that he can have access to me and have a conversation with me. But he also has a peace of mind knowing that I'm just in the house, right? So one of the things that I have to make sure that I'm doing is making sure that when I'm in the room that I am very much present, meaning that I'm having conversation with people, I'm conversing, shall I say, with people, that I am an active listener, as well as one of the things that I have to refrain from the best that I can is not making things to be argumentative. That's a challenge for me because I like asking questions, not in the nature of being um, bothersome, but I literally want to know how people think. And I'm aware that when I'm there in the room, and if I'm asking questions, it does seem like interrogation. And for I got to learn a better way, but I don't know too many ways to have a conversation without asking questions. And so I am going to be making sure that I'm present when I'm having conversations with people as well as when I'm listening. Like if you have kids, there are some conversations that don't seem to be that interesting because you don't really know all the story. Like you're coming in the middle of the story when they begin to talk to you. Like my daughter G, she will tell me, excuse me, something that she's enjoying, and I'm like, I don't I don't know what you're talking about. Could you please back up and give me some context, right? Because context is king. And if I can understand the context, then I can enjoy in your joy and excitement of being excited about this thing that you're doing, right? So, but if I'm coming in the middle, I have no idea what you're talking about, then I'm not going to be interested. All right. And so for me, that is one the I won't say the top thing, but I'm gonna say that's the first thing that I think that men that do a lot of thinking, men that are biblical men that are men of God that seem to always have and always have something on their mind. Their mind is never really at rest. And when they're in the presence of their family, seem to be thinking about other things. Only think about them and know that those are memories that they will take with them everywhere they go. And if you're able to be present, being off of your phone, having a conversation with them, listening to them, then you will be able to drop nuggets on them as well as them dropping nuggets on you. So make that something that you're intentional about. Now, one of the questions that I pose to myself is what do your kids need from you emotionally, not just financially? Well, all of them are different. I think with Kimber, I would say emotionally, she needs me to be an encourager to her, an individual that communicates to her uh, on an adult level, um, and not to be appearing as judgmental, but to be appearing as someone that's a counselor. With Gianna, I would say emotionally, she needs somebody to just listen to her vent, to someone that she could talk to. And and mainly so that she can just communicate to somebody all the things that are going on in her mind and in her sphere of what she does, because she doesn't have a friend that she can talk to every day, you know, that really likes all the things that she likes. So when she's able to, or when I'm able to just sit down and allow her to talk, she really enjoys that. She told me that, by the way. Joshua just wants to emotionally, he wants hugs every day. That's physical. So, but emotion, that's a part of his emotions that he wants, that makes him feel good, um, for the day, if you will. And then also with Joshua, he wants me to make sure that I have a conversation with him every day with something dealing with being an adult, being a man, being a father, being a husband. He is very inquisitive about what this role that I have and what he will be able to do with when he's in the same position. So with Ethan, I would say that what I need to do with Ethan is just sit and talk to him without me uh, feeling like I'm gonna go off on Ethan, um, and just put him at a sense of peace and probably walk him through many of the things that I would desire for him to get right. Mm, And I think that emotionally, if I would encourage him on the things that he does well, I think that that would be helpful for him. With Jordy, it's just a matter of being able to be playful with her. She just wants to have fun and be a kid, you know? And so I would say that altogether is what I believe that they need from me emotionally, but I would always prefer to ask them, because it's better to ask the person that you're needing to do that for, right? And so, as I think about it, in order for me to be emotionally available to them, I got to be um, very much present. And some of the things that have happened in my life has caused me to be very kind of closed off at times. And so that being able to lead when you're struggling, man, being able to lead when you're struggling, that's when I have to get into my prayer mode for real. I talk to God about, God, I really need you right now. Jesus, can you provide me some answers? Because I'm not understanding what is going on right now, whether it's with people or whether it's with myself or whether it's with a situation. And so, how do I lead when I'm struggling? And that we'll talk about how, what it looks like inside of the home, and when my energy is low, and then when finances is tight, or even my faith is being stretched. What I do or try to do when my energy is low is sometimes I just gotta go take a nap, to be honest. I would just go to sleep for a quick moment to kind of re-energize myself. And then from there, I will pretty much have a conversation. I at least try to get into talk to everybody in the house as far as a hello. It may not be a deep conversation. It just make sure that they know that I know that they're there, um, and also inquiring about their day. I got to be more consistent about making sure I ask everybody how their day is doing, check in, as well as making sure that once again that I'm present when I'm asking these questions. Now, when finances is tight, that I know for me growing up poor and then getting money, then losing money, and then going broke, that it's a nemesis of mine, of when there's a time when finances get tight. However, I have come to the point of understanding that God really got me, and He's never failed me, never let me down. He has been faithful, and so I'm always looking to. Now I'll say that I'm looking to see what is He going to do and how is He going to get us out of that tight situation. So for me, with finances being tight, I mean, we just got to stay at the house and chill and watch TV, play video games, have conversations. Family, we haven't had family time in a while, but family time is really good. And then when my faith is stretched, I go to the Bible. Specifically, I go to U version, and in U version, I find some topics that allow me to see what it is that I'm going through, and then be able to read those topics. You know, I think it's very important for people to, uh, I think it's very important for people to know where to go when they need help. And me, I'm blessed to be able to not just go to the Bible. I'm also able to call on a couple of friends. I would say they're my accountability partners, and just say, "Listen, man, I'm having a hard time right now. Could you pray for me, or could you give me some advice on how I should handle this situation?" You know, and this is what anybody can do when you are faced with struggles. You need to make sure that you have people that can be honest with you about where you are and what you can do to get out of that situation, whether it's a practical application or whether it is them getting you into the scripture to where, where, like, for example, you have Paul. Paul was he was a he hated Christians. He changed his life, but then he came to a point of where he is rocking with Christ. But he had friends around him, right, that would hold him accountable. He also held other people accountable. And he in the books that he writes, it's about encouraging people. Sometimes he checks people, but a lot of the times he's encouraging them to stay true and stay faithful to the God that has been faithful to them. Because this life that we live is really is really an opportunity for us to show the love of show how much Christ loves us by, one, if we're having a hard time, by coming back to him and telling him, like, listen, I'm having a hard time. Could you uh could you give me some mercy, or give me some grace, or could you tell me what it is that I need to be doing? Well, the Bible says to have peace, and he will give you peace that surpasses all understanding. Like that is a true thing that he will do and has done. When the question that's here, it says, have I asked for help? um I would say that I have asked for help one time that I can remember. um I'm sorry, that's not true. I've asked for help multiple times, but the one that comes to mind is, I really didn't know what to do financially in a situation, and I called my homie. Shout out to Dez, and I was just like, "Hey, bro, this is what I'm thinking about what I should do, with some money. Uh, what's your thoughts on it?" Or I may say, or I have asked not my counselor, but my mentor. I would talk to him about, how do I become a better leader, and how does that look? And then he would give me several different scriptures to identify how leaders were in the Bible. And so, that's what I would do. I would try to model myself. I mean, it sounds cliche, but I really try to model myself after what the Bible says. And I do fall in the sense of I don't communicate it well all the time, but I do believe that I do communicate it well, most of the time. Um, It's just a matter of, I think rapport has a lot to do with how people receive me, uh, as well as others. It's important for, like the pastor was saying the other day. Shout out to one community church in, where we went was in Louisville, Texas, and he was saying one of the main things that you need to be is likable. And if you're not likable, people not gonna really rock with you like that. Like, I don't know if people gonna even tune into to me, because there is something about me that they may not really like. And so, but at the same time, I gotta I gotta still do what God tells me to do, but I still need to be likable. And one of the ways is to like people. And so one of the reasons why I did this podcast, started this podcast, is because I love people. um, I can't say that I like people all the time, but I enjoy being in in places where I get to talk to people about how they think about things. I really do. And so one of the questions: have I leaned into a guy's strength on my own or my own pride? That's crazy. How have I leaned into God's strength or my own pride? Well, it depends on the day. It depends on the situation. Like there have been times where I've leaned on my own understanding of a situation and got it wrong. Um, and there have been times that I leaned on God's strength and understanding and I got it right. So it's a matter of the battle between the flesh and the spirit. And and so I would say when I'm having a conversation with with my wife, I'm really listening, doing my best to listen to God on how to communicate what it is that I want to say to her. And sometimes it goes a lot of times it goes well, sometimes it doesn't, and that's just a part of being in a relationship. Even when I was as a teacher, when I'm communicating with my students, I'm trying to make sure that I communicate in a way that God would be honored. Sometimes there have been situations where I lean to my own understanding and then end up getting in some type of trouble, in the sense of a parent calling and saying, "Why did you say that to my kid?" Well, your kid was acting up. Maybe I shouldn't have told him to be quiet in the way that I did, but he wouldn't stop talking. So, it's a battle. It is a daily battle for me because I think that's a part of the sanctification process, right? Is that I get to each every day, I get to wake up, that He allows me to, and work on myself every day. And a part of that is I'm having to communicate God's love to people. And if I'm not doing that effectively, then that means I got to go back to the drawing board. And I'm okay um, with being accountable to when I don't do things well or do things right. It may take me a moment. Sometimes it may take me a moment to realize, okay, I see your perspective. I don't always agree with the perspective, but I can understand the perspective. And as a result of understanding the perspective, it allows me to be like, okay, let me put that in my bag, and let me respond in a way that they are going to be receptive, especially if I want this conversation to be healthy and to move forward. Uh, I pray for your boy, because I, I do want. Um, I want to I want people to experience me from my perspective, not just their own perspective. What I mean by that is it's like um I'm direct most times. And when I'm direct, there are times that people get offended by me being direct. And it's not even being rude. It's just it's a matter of this is a matter of fact. And uh, when I'm talking to certain people, the directness, they don't appreciate the directness. But then when I began to talk in passive aggressiveness, now it's a matter of they may feel like I'm speaking to them like they're not intelligent, and that's a challenge that I face. And so I ask God to help me be able to establish very good communication skills with all people and not just certain people, you know. Um, and so um, that's how I grew up, is being direct with people, being assertive. Uh, And at one point, like I used to not care. about how people receive what it is that I said. I remember clearly when I was a manager at a telemarketing company, I would tell my employees, if you don't, not this exact words, but I would tell my employees, listen, if you don't get this, you're not going to work here long, because I was a sales manager, and my team members, their sales impacted if I got a bonus or not. And typically how it worked was the new people, because they were new, they didn't make any sales, which meant that brought my sales performance down. And so, don't get me wrong, I tried to help them get to a point, but I also was in that mindset of, listen, you got to get this. If you're not gonna get this, then you got to go. And I can see why I was not promoted, even though I was a really good sales manager, numbers wise for sure. And so during that time, I did not see Christ uh, in my sphere. He was I had nowhere for him to be in my heart, in my life, because I was running in the way that I wanted to and experiencing some things that I wanted to, and as a result, um, I did not get the promotions that I wanted. So I relied on my own pride and my own understanding. But as I began to read the Bible more, um, talk to people that were in leadership positions that were godly, my life in as regards to working changed. There was this one lady who said, I really thought you was going to be one way because of who I remember you to be before you left, and when you came back, it was like you was a whole different person, you know. And so I appreciate that, and I want to really want to impact people to know that God really changes you. Like the Holy Spirit really changes you, uh, if you allow Him to. Now, as I transition, before we transition, quick break. If you've been rocking with the Humble Dad podcast, now's your chance to represent the movement. The Humble Dad hat is now available for pre-order. Not even pre-order no more. Like you can actually go get it. All right, and it's on my shop. I'll put the link in the chat, and we're aiming to move 50 hats in the next 2 weeks. This hat is more than just merchandise; it's a message, a reminder to lead with grace, walk in purpose, and father with faith. And so you can head over to Instagram at Humbledad Legacy, or you can email me at humbledad78@gmail.com, or you can DM me to get yours today. Now back to the lecture at hand. Um, Topic: loving your wife through life's chaos. Loving your wife through life's chaos. Well, showing a moment where I had to show grace instead of control. Well, I think anytime that um, we have a misunderstanding is an opportunity for me to show grace. Uh, if I feel like she's wrong about something, then I have to be okay with not being, with not what we call winning the argument. I need to be okay with the premise of where we are, where we can agree to disagree. I'm not. I struggle in that aspect sometimes, but when I do it, it feels good to do because, um, well, I won't say it like that. I'll take it back. All right. It doesn't necessarily feel good to do. It feels like uh, growing. I'll put it like that. It feels like growth is taking place, and so a level of, when I had to come back to a point, like I had said something, and I had said something probably out of frustration or disagreeing, and then I had to come back and apologize for what it is that I said, and you know that was not me giving grace, but her accepting the apology was her giving me grace, So that's for me, it has done I've done the same thing as well. So as it relates to a marriage, you're going to have situations where the other person may say or do something that you don't like. Just remember that you're flawed as well, you know. We're all flawed individuals. And so if we can remember that everybody's going to make mistakes, but what is it? But if I would give them the opportunity to come back and reconcile that, or even if they don't, can I push through this? And I think that's what God wants us to do. He wants us to be people that are able to push through the difficult things. For me, one small way that I can lead with love this week, it was our anniversary. And one of the things that I could do or did, I would say, is, she woke up and she wasn't feeling well, so I was able to get her some ointment so that so I could rub it on her shoulder so she could feel better. Um, just listening to her tell me what's going on in her life and in her mind is a way that I can show love this week. Helping her see the vision that she has for her business, and letting her know that I'm here for her to make it happen. Encouraging her to be who God has called her to be. That's another way. And then also leading by example, I would say, is a very good way to lead with love. You know, at all times of the day, the man is going to be the leader. And even if I don't have a full tank, I am still having to make sure that I lead well, right? I got to make sure that even I got to make sure that I hone in on not being so frustrated quickly, you know. So I think that's important. That's a very good question. I think everybody should say that, should think about that, right? What's one small way you can lead with love this week? So with my children, I'm going to have independent conversations with them about how do they see daddy loves them, or do they believe that he doesn't show it in the way that they need it? That's what I'm gonna ask them, and I'll let you know what they say. Now, raising kids, boy, boy, you cannot be prepared. Who prepares people for raising kids? There's no way. Um, Thinking about when I grew up, I I was not this these the kids that I have, none of them are really like how I was as a kid. I asked my mom, I asked her, I said, why is it that they act like this? I said, did I act like this when I was a kid? When I'm telling my kids they need to clean up. I gave them all the things that they need to do to clean up. They know exactly what they need to do to clean up, and then it doesn't get clean. And I'm like, I don't understand. Was I like this? And she said, no, you typically just did what I asked of you. And I'm like, what is going on? Why is there such an inconsistency when it comes to doing such a thing? And I remember, man, I did not do it today. Did not do it today. But I have to remember to do our daily Bible studies. My kids really love when we read through the Bible and we are able to hear each other's perspectives, and they're able to what they say is they also are able to spend time with dad and spend time with dad in the scripture. And I started this um probably, man, when we first had moved into the house, I think I had started almost 11 years ago, you know? I think I started almost 11 years ago. And but I was going to class, I would go to school later in the day and they were being homeschooled. And so I would wake up maybe 7 o'clock or so, something like that. And I would read the Bible to them and we would talk about the scriptures. And then that happened for a very long time. And even after Jen passed, we would read through the Bible and people different. We read another book called Heaven that had the scriptures in it as well. Then when I started working a totally different schedule, I just got away from it. And but that was the thing that a part of raising them, I believe that got them to be very equipped in handling a lot of life challenges, you know. Them dealing with me as a dad, when I was going through my grieving process, and I think you're always gonna be grieving to some aspect. But when it was really, really challenging, my kids were giving me the word of God every day. Not only that, when we moved, their level of grace and mercy to move with the flow. Don't get it twisted that there have been some challenges, obviously, but they have. What I'm saying is that they have still thrived in from a intellectual standpoint, as well as they still want to rep Christ, even in their transition of where they are. I wanted to try to get them to be in a normal space as possible. And so my kids I have gotten them away from, and it's on me, right? I have not studied the word with them as much as I need to. And so, what kind of legacy am I building with my words and my actions? If we had to stop today and it was grown up, I don't. Some of my actions have not been good, but a lot of my actions have been good. One of the things that I asked them was, "What have y'all learned from me thus far?" And one of my sons, he said, "I learned from you determination." And I said, "Determination? Why?" He said, "Because how I've seen you go through what you've gone through and move the way that you move. That's what I see, determination." Um, one of my other children, she said that what she sees in me is somebody that's, um, I guess, what's the word? Strict, but also fair, is what she said. Um, and one of the things that I do when it comes to discipline, I ask them, I say, Do you believe that you did something wrong? Or tell me exactly what you did. Do you understand this is why you're getting the discipline?" They may say no, but typically they say yes. And so that lets me know that I am being fair. And then I even had a conversation with them one time. I said, "Listen, do y'all see how many times I have let y'all go without there being a punishment? And then now we're here. This is why you're getting the punishment. Because I've continuously told you the same thing over and over again. Behavior hasn't changed. So I have to do something different." And so I want them to see Christ through me. And if I'm not following Christ, I want them to not follow me in that regard. Like there was a time when I was they had did something. They didn't clean up all the way, and I had told them that it's not okay, obviously, not to do exactly what I told you to do. I don't know why you're doing something different and deviating from what it is that I told you to do. but it seems like that's where you are. And I ended up that same day taking them um, to get a snow cone. Snow cone was fire, by the way. And as we're going, I said, you all don't really deserve the snow cone because you all have, as a collective, have not done what I asked you to do. And one of those things that I ask all of y'all to do is to look after each other and to make sure that the other person is doing their job. And because y'all didn't do that, this is why we are where we are. And so, but I said, but I want you to, I want to show you how God does us, even when we don't follow instructions. There'll be times where He'll still bless us anyway. And so I went to get them a snow cone, and hopefully that'll remind them a little bit of how good God is to them, because He was good to me back in when I was in Nacogdoches, and I had did something at the job that I wasn't supposed to do, and they called me in. They was like, "We saw you. Uh, check in," and I basically was on the clock when I wasn't supposed to be, and they said, "We got to let you go." I said, "Oh goodness." And and that same day, I ended up finding a better job in this small town of Nacogdoches. I went from being like, I think I was making $6.50 to a big old whopping salary of $27,000. And I thought that was a lot of money for me during that time period, because I was in a small town, and that's what, about $1,800 or so, $2,000, something like that a month. And my rent wasn't a lot, but the problem was I ate out too much. So nevertheless, that was a very much of a learning experience. But I said that all to say this, that I ended up being blessed by God, even though I had did something that I shouldn't have been doing. So I wanted to show that to my kids, and I try to do that on a regular basis. Uh, and also, disciplining children is very time consuming, very frustrated. It's just frustrated. It's frustrating at times. What's up, Lost Man? Shout out to you. And sometimes I forget to discipline them, and I get upset at myself because I didn't discipline them when I should have. And so I just tack it on at the end of another one, which I don't think I should do that, but I've done that before. And so the kind of legacy that I'm building with my words and my actions is really that God has the final say. Jesus is the answer. Dad is learning, but I want you to go and impact the world better than I could. It's one of the reasons why I went to go finish. I was just talking to somebody about this. It was one of the reasons why I finished my doctorate degree when I was going to quit. And but I didn't want my children to have any excuses for quitting, that they would see dad as a person that is a go-getter. Even though I haven't reached all the milestones that I want to reach, I'm not going to stop trying to reach them. Um, so I want them to see that. And I want my grandchildren to see that their grandfather was a man of God, and his desire was to please God each and every day, and that I'm not superhuman, but I serve a super I serve somebody that has superpower, supernatural power. And so that's the type of legacy that I want to build. I want to also build um, children that turn into adults, that turn into incredible spouses. I want my daughters to be God-centered wives, and I want my sons to be God-fearing leaders. And I want them all to know that they can never do anything that would stop me from loving them. And so I want them to know that um, everything that I do is to for me to get better so that they can have an example to look forward to or look at. And so that's the type of legacy that I'm building with my words and my actions. And I also encourage them, tell them when they're doing good. I also tell them when they're not doing good. I tell them that I love them on a regular basis. So um, they tell me that you tell me that you love me all the time. We know. So so yeah, there's that. Once again, hey, we got one last topic, But before we do that, if you've been rocking with us, the Humble Dad Podcast, it is definitely your chance to represent the movement. The Humble Dad hat, as you can see, right, is now available. And so we're aiming to move 50 in the next 2 weeks. This hat is more than merchandise, it's a message. A reminder to lead with grace, walk in purpose, and father with faith. So head over to Instagram at Humble Dad Legacy or even DM me to claim yours today. And you can also hit me at humbledad78 at gmail.com. And we're going to talk about why is humility a superpower? Well, Jesus was humble and it showed in a great capacity of what that did. He did not respond based upon what people said. He responded in his own way at his own time. Jesus was perfect, obviously. However, we don't need to lead because we're perfect. We lead because we're surrendered. And so one of those ways is that I surrender my life to Christ is that I really go to him and say, what do I need to do to get better? How can I get better? How do I need to listen better? How do I need to be a better dad, a better husband, a better friend? I need to work on being a better brother, whether that's spiritually or biologically. And so the humility is to say that I don't have it all together. And the reason why I call myself humble dad is because I'm wanting to make sure that I don't get ahead of myself or get the big head as I used to when I was younger. And so I just want to encourage dads to embrace humility as strength and not a weakness. Just because you say yes a lot doesn't mean that you are weak. Just because you want to cater to your wife doesn't mean that you're a simp. Just because you want to show Christ to people around you shows that you are a man of humility and that you know that your superpower comes from him. Now, before we close out, if you're in the Dallas, Cedar Hill, or greater DFW area and you're looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate, holler at me. At Glenn's Houses Real Estate, we're not just selling homes, we're helping families build legacy. Whether you're buying your first house or looking to sell and upgrade or even rent, I got you. Let's make moves that matter. You can email me at glenshouses at gmail.com or hit me in the link on my Instagram page, or you can even contact me through YouTube as well, or even on Facebook, Elijah Glenn on Facebook. Appreciate your time. Really appreciate y'all for rocking with me tonight. And if this episode encouraged you, share this with another dad or husband or brother trying to grow. Remember, you don't have to be perfect to be purposeful. Just stay humble, stay faithful, and keep showing up. I'm Dr. Glenn, and this is the Humble Dad Podcast. Until next time, we out here. Deuces.
The boy is dangerous.
Bad feeling about this.
You don't seem to understand something.
The thing that I like most about being a dad is that I see that I'm about to impact the world.